Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Nerdside Champs, all you Wayland Utani fans, all you Prodigy experts. We are still in the midst. We are in the weeds. We have made it thick in country into this season of Alien Earth. And reportedly, there are people out there who are very much enjoying this. And this is exactly the alien they always wanted and ever so much thought it was. But this has went from garden variety, yeah, this is about as bad as everything else is, to just unbearably, bad. What were your key takeaways this week, Tim?
Um, uh, I'm trying to even gather my thoughts.
Yeah.
I got taken back to high school, and Godsmack was a pretty cool band. That
Yeah,
was about
that was nice.
that was maybe about the only thing that I enjoyed all the way around. There's still just a lot of stuff that's just not lining up. I think what they're
Yeah.
trying to do is they're trying to do the unexpected with some of these characters, but in doing so, they're doing things that we have no context for and make no sense. And we'll probably get into a lot of that. But people who should be for one company or the other company are not really for either company. And then we had to sit through this weird courtroom thing between the two companies, and it was like, I just wonder if the writers know that this is supposed to be about a monster. I'm just curious if they if
Well,
they are really knowing that the premise of the show is a monster. That's the
well,
premise of the show. So
I would argue that they very much do not know that and would argue that it's not because of the
the
scene
real
this week.
monster is the company. That's the real
Right.
monster.
Well,
Yeah,
and it's humans
yeah,
in general, because Wendy and her ever so lovable brother had to have a little discussion on cultural relativism
yeah,
as opposed to xenomorphs in the hallway this week. I had to be told that xenomorphs really aren't that bad. They're
yeah.
as good as us. Whereas the brother tries to insist that they're just killers, which is exactly what they are supposed to be. It was
That's
designed to
what
be,
the franchise was built on. The
yes,
IP was built on a bloodthirsty drone monster that just kills people. That's
yeah,
that's what they are. I
yeah,
I
a
don't get it.
thoughtless killing machine, just a drone, just a, but according to Wendy, that's what bees do, that's what ants do, that's what people do. People do it too. So
Yeah.
who's better? We should
Mhm.
have seen this in episode 1 with the talk about the scorpion,
Yeah, yeah.
that it was coming. And we got the xenomorph puppy, which of course everybody wanted a xenomorph puppy. I mean, every alien fan on their bucket list was like, I'm not going to be happy with this franchise until they show me xenomorph puppies. That's what I really need. I need a cute xenomorph CG puppy and a girl to tame it. And it's just, anyway, we could get into the comments. Tim, did you have? I know you had a rant that you wanted to talk about. I know it's an uncertain world that we live in,
We
and there are
here
bigger
on Nerd
things going on.
Champs, we here on Nerd Champs understand that not a lot of people watch our little show. We're a plunky little YouTube channel with 200 and stupid followers, and we talk about things that honestly don't matter. But Dan and I have endured our share of online hatred for our silly nerd opinions. Okay, people who
Yeah,
have spent way too much time going after us and making sure that they try to win arguments and do all this kind of stuff about stuff that honestly just does not matter in the end, guys.
no,
Okay. But this week, uh, something happened. I think we all know the situation that happened this week with Charlie Kirk and somebody who talks about things that really do matter. And all I've got to say is, look, anybody who is trying to use this as an opportunity to dance on the grave of a man with two little children, you're the scum of the earth, and you need to check yourself. That's all I'm going to say. And Dan, did you have anything to add?
Uh, no, I think you wrapped that up well, Tim. You really hit on it. Uh, we're in an area, like you said, what we're arguing about doesn't matter, and yet people come at it as if they're really literally arguing gospel here. So it's hard to imagine how heated it gets when you are arguing actual gospel. Uh, when we said we liked Rings of Power, people brought the Silmarillion out like it was the Old Testament. I can't imagine what the internet and the world is like when you argue the actual Old Testament. It's got to be awful, and yet people have the bravery to do it. And whether you're talking about these things that don't matter, these nerdy sci-fi things, or sports, or the most weighty, important issues of our day, the purpose of mankind, why are we all here? The free exchange of ideas is important. We have to
Mhm.
be willing to let others talk. You don't even you don't have to be willing to listen. You really
Mhm.
don't. If somebody consistently angers you and you don't like what they have to say, and it's going to drive you to just turn around and walk away. Just walk away. Just turn it off. Don't open it. Don't go to the place. Whatever it is, don't engage with it if it's going to upset you to that level. It's really simple. We live in a world where whatever small niche of opinions that you have, you can find somewhere on the internet where, like, if you're unable to engage with people that disagree with you, we have so much technology that you will find some small group of people that agree with you about everything. Everything. You,
Everything.
you, you, you
Mhm.
you will find 20 or 30 or a couple hundred people that like every single issue. You can kick out any person that disagrees with you on any of the myriad issues in the world, from the hugely weighty to the totally nonsensical. You could find
Yeah.
a small group of people to agree with you about all of them. So if you can't tolerate disagreement, just spend your time and find that group. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But then once you find the group, don't go out and try. Just be happy with each other. You don't have to go out and try to knock out all the people who don't agree with you.
Yeah.
It's very
I
simple.
mean, the premise of our channel was the idea that disagreement can be fun. You know what I mean? That was kind of the whole premise of how we started this. We started as a debate format channel, debating about things that really don't matter and all this kind of stuff. And so the idea that disagreement has to be this contentious thing where there are two sides and one of them is right and one of them is wrong, and the one that is wrong must be annihilated from the face of the earth. We need to get away from that, people. Look, we're here to have fun, contentious discussion. Dan and I do it all the time. We disagree on a lot of different things. Let's just, let's just be nice humans. I don't think that's too much to ask, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you can't find a way to do that, you need to check yourself. So
yeah, yeah. There's no reason to celebrate others' misfortune. I mean, again, you don't have to cry every time somebody, like, stubs a toe, but like when true, monumental, true misfortune befalls someone else, there's no reason to enjoy in that, no matter how much you disagree with them. I mean, it just really is
yeah,
not. It's not. It's inhuman. It lessens all of us. So that
absolutely.
being said, on to something else that lessens all of us. Alien Earth. We have a lot of comments. They'll probably help us narrow down. It was just such a fest of awful this week. Tim has been disliking this show more than me. I thought this was mid-level bad. Uh And to be totally honest, I want to go out. People think that we go out of our way to hate things.
We really
Tim
don't.
and I, uh,
We
the two
we
least
give it
watched
every
things.
opportunity, guys. We give it every opportunity before we decide we don't like it.
Yeah.
Rings of Power. I think I gave up about episode 6 or 7, about an episode or two before Dan did, and then
Yes.
by the finale, Dan was like, I can't believe what I just watched." Right. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we give it every opportunity, guys. But at the end of the day, we're just calling them balls and strikes. We're not out here saying that this is bad just because we are, we are certified Disney haters. We'll admit it, but
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with this. This is not a good show, no matter what studio it
But
came from.
that in mind, we are certified Disney haters, but we spent whatever it was, 6, 7 weeks, and nobody watched it because nobody watched the show. Telling everyone, please watch Skeleton Crew because they need to make more things like this. This is what they should be doing with Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't hate everything. We did Reacher. We did the last episode, the last season of Reacher. We both, we both were kind of underwhelmed by the current season, but as a series on whole, we're both going to say that Reacher has been great.
Mhm.
Add the 3 seasons together, it's really good.
Our
And
Thunderbolts review was pretty good, I think, right? I mean, we
yeah,
had a
yeah,
generally positive review of Thunderbolts, and so we're not just haters, man. I mean, we don't just get on here and try to do hate fuel and try to get clicks for attention and all that kind of. We're just calling them how we see them, man. We like some things, we don't like others, and we don't always agree. Sometimes
right.
Dan is like, I really like that. I mean, this series is kind of a good example. The first few episodes, I was out, and Dan was like,
Yes,
"I'm not liking it, but I'm not liking it, but I'm not hating it." Now Dan's kind of coming
right.
around to my end because it's not
Yeah,
getting any
yeah.
better.
No, it's getting worse. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
Tim anticipates where it's going to go, and I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and say maybe they're going to go somewhere interesting,
yeah,
but
yeah,
maybe. And it's like, no, this is going to keep getting worse. And I'm like, well, I'm going to wait until it does, and then it did, and
yeah,
then
and it
you know,
did.
it, so there's just again, and coming into this, I had no reason to believe it would be bad. I actually had watched some commercials and trailers and thought it might be good because
Yeah,
the vibe and the look of this show are great. And so you can string together as many 30-second or 2-minute spots as you want and make it look really good. You know, that that
yeah,
that's that's easy to do with this show. So there was that. I do like FX. Fox, I
mhm,
mean, Disney lets me down, but like FX is where It's Always Sunny comes on. So I have warm
yeah.
feelings about
Uh,
about
what
FX,
what we what we do in the shadows, great series. One of my favorites is an FX show. So there's a lot of good stuff on FX,
Right.
and so we're not just out here hating. This is just one of those shows that I feel like it would have been better suited to get an actual reading, to just release it to streaming instead of having it on cable as well. That's
Yeah.
that's
And
probably
it's
the truth.
just and well, we'll get into it after the comments, but what they
Yeah.
keep doing with this legacy IP and the things that they've bought and even the things they created in house. Um, I'll make the statements later. I'm gonna get through these comments. you know, Thug Dog, the most boring and ridiculous scene in franchise history is the arbitration scene between Prodigy and Utani. They do know this IB is about aliens eating people, right?
No, they're completely unaware. They're completely
Oh,
unaware that that is supposed to be part of the plot. Yeah, this was not a good. This scene, in my mind, just sums up this entire series. This scene lets everybody know what we're focusing on here has absolutely nothing to do with the monster. The
well,
monster is it's a secondary, maybe even third part of the story. What we're focusing on is this conflict between these two companies. That's the real problem. So yeah,
and
I
let me be clear here. Uh, Me and Tim are not mental midgets who watch TV looking for explosions. Like,
Yeah.
explosion, blood.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're salesmen by trade, or had been for a very long time. That's our background. And boardroom, business, type things like, negotiations, high stakes negotiations. We can quote you Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross backwards and forwards. The leads are shit. We need good leads. These leads, put that coffee down. All of that, and Wall Street, the Wolf of Wall Street. Uh, you know, I love other
Tommy
people's
Boy.
money.
Tommy Boy, Dan. This
Yeah.
is my sale, Helen, right? I mean,
Yeah, other people's money. You ever see that one with Danny DeVito where
oh
he's
yeah.
a corporate manager? Yeah, I love high stakes corporate negotiations. I like dramas about it. I like comedies about it. I like comedic dramas about it. I mean, like, if we're gonna do like high stakes business negotiation takeover, that kind of thing, like, okay, I'm here for it. But this is just so, again, like, you're going to be one thing or the other thing. You're going to be like two mediocre, not even mediocre, just half-assed versions of each thing. Like, this is no real corporate espionage, high stakes negotiation. He didn't.
No.
I guess we're meant to believe
I
that
think
Boy Cavalier.
the
Go
big
ahead.
thing here was supposed to be that we actually get to see Utani. I have we not seen her before? I don't know.
We saw her talking to the cyborg guy last week.
No. I'm talking
he,
about the series in general. Had we seen Utani previously to this series?
Oh, I mean,
I
that
don't
was
think that we have.
it's who they all worked for. Yeah, we had never. I didn't know it was a person. I just,
yeah, exactly,
you know,
right. You didn't know that it was an actual person, and
yeah,
here she is having to negotiate for the company and having to negotiate for the rights to have these creatures, which is just a weird thing in general. A lot of things that just don't add up when you think about it. A lot of things that just don't add up legally, that just don't make a lot of sense, and there's just a lot of stuff that wouldn't have really been the way that it went down, but it's the way that it went down.
And we're supposed to believe that Boy Cavalier is this corporate genius, and he really outwrangled Yutani with that quarantine thing, and it's like,
yeah.
And at the same time he's doing that, I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of the comments, but we're witnessing more blatant incompetence in the dealing with these highly invasive. Yeah, I mean, come on. Are you kidding?
By everybody that should know a lot better. It's just the dumbest thing. Yeah, it's just it's just like, okay, we'll get into it, but anyway, I agree.
Yes, that argument, that arbitration was the most ridiculous, and it was a pointless scene because they're going to come attack and try to take it anyway.
He walks in, and the first thing he does is put his bare feet up there, and I was just like, come on, dude, let's just stop with the feet. The whole feet thing is just weird. It's creepy. It's not. What they've done is Yutani is supposed to be the bad guy, right? Like, Yutani is the evil corporation. All right. Weyland Yutani is Skynet. Weyland Yutani is InGen. It is the evil. And now they're making a sympathetic version of that company because the other company is so much worse. And it's just like, anyway, it just makes my head explode.
Well, speaking of sympathetic Weyland Yutani, Jon Snow knows nothing. He says that the CGI xenomorph has entered the chat. And I didn't know. Yeah. In case you didn't know, I guess the thing that every Alien fan wanted was a xenomorph puppy. We needed to see CGI xenomorph puppies so they would be small and cute, and we needed Wendy to tame it so we could watch her talk to the little xenomorph. And Jesus, well, come on.
It's so silly. It's so silly. And Look, I'm not the guy who is going to complain about every time they use CGI. I will say a lot of CGI in this episode was very, very bad. What were the things that got Toodles? Were they supposed to be like mosquitoes or something, or
Yeah, some
like
kind of, but they ate obviously.
bees or
Yeah,
something, you know?
yeah,
But those looked very bad. The CGI on those looked atrocious. It's been that with a lot of the stuff, right? You had the ticks, you had the leeches, all that stuff looked really, really fake. It looked really, really bad. It looked cartoony. And the xenomorph was no better. As soon as it came out and it was well lit and it was CGI, I was just like, oh, what are they doing? It's very simple, man. Put it in the dark, or put it, a different angle where you can't see the whole thing, or they don't utilize their CGI well at all. It's like none of them have watched Jurassic Park and taken the little notes about what Spielberg did to make this look good. They haven't used a practical head with a CGI body here, and they haven't. There's just a lot of different things that they could do to make it better that they didn't. But in the end, Dan, you are right. The main issue is we just didn't need that to begin with. I didn't need
yes,
an adolescent xenomorph. Okay. An
yeah.
adolescent
No,
xenomorph is something I'm completely uninterested in. So,
no,
uh,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
In defense of the bad CGI, this show is also able to give you bad versions of practical effects that were mastered over 40 years ago.
yeah, exactly.
They keep giving you the xenomorph suit because here's the thing: you get the adolescent xenomorph suit, and then like 5 scenes and 20 minutes later, the xenomorph is full grown. Because
Yeah.
we do know that a xenomorph grows from busting out of a chest to being full grown in almost no time. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen enough movies to know it busts out of the chest, and a few minutes later, it's full grown and killing people. Like we've seen the movie, we know they grow up fast. So, like
Hmm.
10 minutes later, you're in the lab again, and the full grown xenomorph comes down from the ceiling doing some Cirque du Soleil moves to try to look a little bit creepy with its tail, but it comes down upside down and comes down to the floor. But it's so well lit and so just like, detailed.
Hmm. Oh, I think Dan got disconnected. I don't know what happened there, but I agree with Dan. I think exactly what happened with a lot of what we had with the practical effects of the xenomorph is we had a lot of camera angles and lighting and things like that that really were masterful work by Ridley Scott, and it was stuff that was done really well early in this series. When we go back and we take a look at the stuff that was done early in this series in episodes 1 and 2, when we had the xenomorph in the suit, they really didn't do that. It was always very dark. It was always very, kind of as a flash moving by, that kind of stuff. It wasn't a lot of the well lit full xenomorph in front of us where we can just zoom up and see that it's very clearly a suit. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of that that's very different. Ridley Scott was very masterful at that. And I think part of that, once again, is just, this is a young, unproven director having to go out there and really earn his chops, his filmmaking chops. This is Steven Spielberg in Jaws. This is, some of those George Lucas in Star Wars. When you are forced to make the practical effects work, you go to great lengths to hide the fact that they're not real. Okay. And
Yeah.
and I think that's the difference between someone like Ridley Scott, who really had that vision, was able to kind of show, hey, we can show this part of the xenomorph and people get the full effect, right? Or we
Right.
can dim the lights and show the full suit. If we dim the full lights, back up and do it at a certain angle, and it looks terrifying, and we don't have to show that it's clearly just a rubber suit. They did that early in the series. That's what really kills me.
Right.
What really kills me
Yeah.
is episodes 1 and 2. They did great xenomorph stuff, and we actually talked about it on this channel. We said
Yeah.
I'm very sad because that's probably all the alien stuff we're gonna get, and so far we're right. So I
Yeah.
don't know. We're obviously going to get more xenomorph stuff, but it's kind of too little too late at this point. We don't really, I think we know who's going to make it to the end, and we already know kind of what's going to happen with the companies. I don't know that there's really anywhere to go with the xenomorphs being an integral part of the story. So anyway,
it's just like, don't give me a close up of the zipper. That's
no,
not what I need, And
yeah,
so it comes down, and it's watching the whole stuff go down. What's his name that got killed this week? The
Toodles, right? Is that
Toodles.
it?
Yeah, so the
Toodles.
xenomorph was watching while Toodles was doing his stuff, and it's like, he didn't need to be there, but no, he's just standing there. He comes down from the ceiling, and he's just standing around in a suit. It's kind of like when he squared up last week with that,
Yeah,
with the, just like
yeah.
stood there in the light, and it's like, dude, you're killing the whole thing.
So
Uh,
go ahead.
go
Keep
ahead.
going. No, we can
Wendy's
go ahead.
brother continues his streak of plot armor luck. Random dude, you need to come patrol with me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right as the dude was trying to talk him into going and getting face hugged. No. Orders. You got to come patrol.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's good that we brought up this segment, because the two Marines that have made it to the island with him, I believe they're the last relatable characters left that you can root for.
Yeah.
They know that they're getting paid. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
they're gonna die. Let's just call
Yeah.
they're gonna die. Okay.
I
So
mean, yeah. They know that they're getting paid to hang out on this nice, lavish island, and they're not in the level of danger that they would be otherwise. The Prodigy would be sending them to do all kinds of crazy stuff if they weren't on this island. And when the brother is talking about, so where's the boat dock? How far out you think we are? I love it when the commander woman turns around and says, "Shut up! Whatever you're planning, stop it." And he's like, "Whatever do you mean?" I mean, I didn't just fall down with the rain.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You're planning an
Exactly.
escape. Quit it. You're gonna mess up our stuff. And just okay. This show is devoid. Like, okay, Prodigy is awful, but we know Wayland is awful too. So there's nobody to root for there. Wendy wants to stand in the hall and tell her annoying brother that xenomorphs are no different than bees and probably are better than people. So I can't wait for Wendy to get eaten by a xenomorph, even though that probably won't happen. Her
Because
brother is
she's like
constantly
indestructible or something. You know what I mean? It's
right,
like she can't be. You know what I mean?
right.
It's anyway.
Her brother is indisputably annoying and constantly saved by plot armor, and somehow thinks he's going to provide a better existence for Wendy by sneaking her off of this like lush, wonderful island so that she can move into the shared apartment that he has with this like ethnic family somewhere, and they can watch Ice Age projected on a sheet that separates his bedroom from the kids eating lunch. I mean, is this the better life he thinks he's going to provide for her? I mean, we saw where you live, bro. I'm sorry, but it's not better.
And they ask him. They say, "What do you think you're going to do?" And he goes, "Be a family." It's like buddy. Like, first of all, you're in your like 20s, okay? And your sister, although she is like a 12-year-old kid, is not anymore, okay? And
right,
there's no family left to be had here, okay? And so the whole thing is just a weird. This was always going to be the problem with this weird Blade Runner story. This Blade Runner story was always going to be something where now we're kind of split on the morality of that instead of xenomorphs eating people. That's kind of where we are. It's like that shouldn't be the water cooler discussion about this show. This show should just be how awesome was it when that xenomorph ripped that guy in half last night, and there's just nothing like that right now.
Well, and they're not addressing it in a way that's interesting. There are no good options. There are no relatable people because, again, I really don't like Wendy. I don't care where Wendy goes. I don't care if she stays on the island or goes with her brother. She wants to have pet xenomorphs. I'm out on Wendy. You know what I'm saying? The conversation in the hall with her brother about how great xenomorphs are and how she keeps insisting they didn't ask to be brought here, as if xenomorphs are a victim. This show wants to paint xenomorphs as a victim, and they're trying to use Wendy as the vehicle to do it. So I'm out. I don't care what happens to Wendy. So, but if I did care what happened to Wendy, her brother doesn't have a viable good option. Now, I know Prodigy is an evil corporation that doesn't really care about her, but her brother is a dipshit who lives in a shared apartment. And so, what is so great about him? I think the only one who actually like cares about her seems to be like Timothy Olyphant's synth. He's the one who's like, she can invent at the speed of light and spend thousands of years exploring the stars. And you want to do what? What are you want her
Yeah,
to come play house with you? Are you retarded? you know?
yeah. Yeah, and this whole, I don't know, this whole show is getting very, very it's getting very, very deep where there doesn't need to be depth. And I think that's probably the worst part about a show like this is if you start to try to go into the motivations of characters and the motivations of companies and try to do some slow boardroom meeting stuff and try to do some discuss, like probably one of the cringiest scenes in the entire episode was when the cyborg and Timothy Oliphant were in the elevator together,
Yeah.
because they work for rival companies and they're talking about how much they hate each other and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, what we found out watching is they're both trying to do the same thing. They're both kind of trying to sabotage what's going on. So it really isn't making sense. It really isn't making sense what is supposed to be happening and who is supposed to be doing what and all of this. I just don't think that I think they're trying to put depth where there really doesn't need to be depth, and it's adding an element to the show that is boring for an alien show.
Well, if it was deep in a way that made sense,
Yeah,
that would at least be something.
right.
But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold together. And again, you need at least one character that's relatable.
And
That
redeemable. And
yeah,
redeemable. You need
even if it
somebody that you're pulling for, even if you hate everybody else, right?
yeah,
You know
even
what I
if it
mean?
was 7
Like,
hours, if it was 7 hours of the xenomorph killing people, right? You would at least want to have 2 or 3 of those people that you didn't want to be eaten by the xenomorph. That you would be
yes,
rooting for to survive. you know,
yes.
you need to give us somebody that you like and want to see make it. And so
Mhm.
far, we just have bad and worse people. There's bad people and there's even worse people. Like there's no
Yeah.
even
And then they
like
argue about which one of them is worse. And that's a whole
right.
scene.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're bad because of all these things. Well, I don't know. Hold on. But you did all of these things. And it's too much, man. It's too much. I
Yeah.
don't care about any of that. I really
Yeah.
don't. I
Were
just
we
want to see xenomorphs eating people. That's the only reason I tuned in. Okay. So
yeah. Yeah. So were we supposed to care about the psychologist's husband, the whiny bro, mad scientist who put? I mean, he who is now face hugged.
yeah.
He's too whiny to be the guy that we care about.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah. Well, and I
anyway.
think that's what they were going for. I think we'll get to him in the comments here in a second, but like he he was supposed to be the guy that was like, okay, well, he stood up and said, I'm not going to do this. And so he got fired. And it's like, oh, that poor guy got fired for doing the right thing. He's the guy we're supposed to cling to. But you're right, Dan, you're right. Like I I couldn't have found a person that I cared about less for you to have be the sacrificial lamb for today, and that's the big
Yeah.
thing. If these people keep dying and I don't care, why am I even watching the show?
Yeah.
You gotta give me somebody I care about. Then it's like, oh boy, now anything can happen. We're not to that point yet.
So John Stone nothing says so. Utani negotiated a settlement, had the specimens returned, but Morrow is still blackmailing the kid. So my understanding, somehow we are supposed to take it as a major uh setback and uncalculable just defeat that they have to
6
wait
weeks.
6 weeks. I don't I don't understand. Has it been established in previous alien lore that the life cycle of a xenomorph from
It's 6 weeks.
egg
Yeah,
to empty husk is less than 6 weeks? You know what I'm saying? Are the xenomorphs, are all the eggs going to be hatched and every xenomorph dead in less than 6 weeks? Otherwise, I don't understand why this is a big deal.
or the other
I
specimens,
don't,
right? I mean,
right.
I
Are they,
I don't.
they'll all be irretrievably, even though the ship was in space for 60 years.
Yeah.
And the xenomorph's metabolism cannot be slowed by cryosleep, as was established, right?
Yeah.
So apparently, the gestating egg could just be there for at least 60 years, but
Yeah.
maybe it's 60 years and 6 weeks. So
Maybe.
we just know that if we wait that 6 weeks, we'll get nothing. I don't understand why you have to mount. I mean, obviously, with the conversation with Moro, Yutani is going to be launching some full out assault on the island so he can sneak the xenomorph out while that's going on. And they're going to do all of this to get 6 extra weeks.
Yeah, and I'm really we'll get into it, I'm sure, but Morrow really his motivations are probably the one that aren't lining up the most, because the 6 week period, like you're talking about, Dan. But then Timothy Oliphant is playing saboteur as well here, just kind of watching things happen, not telling anybody. The whole thing was just weird, right? So I don't know what was going on there. So we're gonna have to
Because,
like
yeah, because Timothy Oliphant, he uncovered the fact that Morrow had hacked into the kid's
yeah,
head
exactly.
last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
you would think that he would be very adversarial to that and wanting to like do whatever he can to make sure that the lab was secured and all this kind of stuff. So he leaves it up to Toodles. He sits here on the monitor and watches him do all the stuff. He doesn't tell anybody about it. And the whole thing was just, he was just waiting on that lab to be sabotaged so that it serves the exact same purpose that Morrow's trying to accomplish. I don't get it. I'm sorry. None of that makes sense. And,
when he
you know,
uncovered the Toodles, when he uncovered that the kid, which one? What's the name of the one that's been hacked?
I forget the one that's been hacked. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When he uncovered that, you would think he would pass that up the chain.
Yeah.
Like he would tell his superiors, he would
Yeah.
go straight to Boy Cavalier and be like, "Look, this guy's hacked into his head and is,
Uh-huh.
threatening his family, and you know, you would Boy Cavalier, like in a snap of the fingers, could have the family safe somewhere, or
Yeah.
could have the family dead somewhere and convince them that they're safe. It seems like the more it would be harder,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
this is the kind of story like it would be easy to just save his family and make them safe. That would be
Yeah.
the easiest solution. But this is the kind of story where you have to go so far to show that Kid Cavalier is evil that if he did anything, he would kill them and create holographic simulations to make the kid think that they were safe, even though they were dead.
Yeah.
Just because, that would be what they would do. But again, if he had passed that up the chain, this problem would already be solved. So why isn't he?
Mhm.
Why is he trusting Toodles with this?
And he's not. That's the big thing. It's like he knew Toodles was going to screw it up, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly why he did it. He watched it all unfold. He didn't tell anybody about it. So by the time the husband goes in there, the husband is freaking out because he sees Toodles, and then all of a sudden the husband breaks protocol. It's just a cascade of incompetence at this point by a bunch of people who should know better, and Timothy Oliphant just sitting here watching them all die. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I
And
mean? So
the cascade of coincidences that has to happen, that within these specimens, we just learned this week that one of them are bugs that eat technology and metal and not
Yeah,
organic
yeah,
matter.
yeah,
He has to
exactly.
grab a tray full of rocks and ore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it just so happens that the feeding opening is broken for
yeah,
their compartment. That just had to have happened. It was broken that day. He has to be stupid enough to think, oh, let me open the containment door and feed these. He can't just
and
be like, well, I guess these fuckers don't get fed today. you
yeah.
know?
Well, and that's the other thing, And then when the husband comes in, the husband is stupid enough to open the stupid door. You know what I mean? And you're just sitting here like, at what point did he look and say, you know what, Toodles is dead? I think
Yeah,
Toodles is just dead. And
yeah,
and I think the containment of this asset is more important than checking to see if Toodles is not dead, because Toodles is dead. I can
yeah,
see Toodles has no vitals. That's why I came in here. And he
yeah.
has no vitals. His face is gone.
He
And
has
there's
no
white
face.
stuff all over the floor.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So Toodles is dead. What is he doing? This is just the classic thing where we needed it to move the plot forward. There
yeah,
is zero chance that guy would have opened the door in a real lab. Okay. There is zero
yeah,
chance that guy would have opened the door. He would have gone and told everybody. He would have done whatever he needed to. He would not have just gone in there and opened the stupid door. I
yeah.
mean, and
Why?
and he
Why would you
definitely
open?
wouldn't have. Yeah. Why would
You've
you
been
open the door?
fired already. You've already
Yeah.
been fired. The
Yeah.
kid is double dog dead. He's not
Yeah.
just dead, he's double dog dead. The
Yeah.
original real kid, you killed him to upload his consciousness into this robot. Now the
Yeah.
robot is very dead. His face is melted in this containment thing. And you're like, you know what? This thing's probably won't melt my face. Let me drag him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I'm sure that was just because he drank something that was bad or something. No, no. I mean, it's clearly those bugs that killed him, right?
Right.
And it's like there's a reason these things are in containment. It's anyway. And this wasn't even like mild greed-driven incompetence like you had with Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park, right? This isn't something
Yeah.
like that. This is incompetence on the whole, on a level of somebody that in no way, shape, or form ever would have opened that door. And that is the thing about the episode I think that drove me the craziest. When the husband opens the door, when Toodles opens the door, okay, Toodles is a moron. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
There's a reason his name is Toodles. But when the husband opens the door, we have all of a sudden just entered a realm of exactly what kind of morons do you have working here? We've entered Home Alone 2. Exactly
Yeah.
what kind of idiots do you have working here? Because I'm just some guy that used to be a salesman, as Dan has said.
Yeah.
I graduated with a 4-year degree with a solid B average. And let me tell you, I wouldn't have opened that door. Okay.
No.
I
Not in
would
a
have
million
said,
years.
Toodles is dead, but let me go tell everyone Toodles is dead. And somebody will find a way to figure out what we got to do in this lab. Okay. But it's not going to be me. I don't work here anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I would have. That's what I would have done. But I'm just some
Yeah.
guy. I mean, anyway.
Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't have even went and investigated. I'd be like, I've got to find my own way off the island. Not for
Hey,
nothing,
what?
but
Hey,
hey,
wife.
Toodles is
Hey, wife.
offline.
Since you still work here, wife, we have no vitals on Toodles. So good luck
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Last
You
known
know.
location was the lab. Deuces. I mean, come on.
I'll see you at home. All right.
Yeah, stay at home. or maybe I won't. I mean, just
Yeah.
and it has to exist. We have to have bugs that eat inorganic matter. So we have to have that. And they have to be in the cage right next to our hyper intelligent goat or lamb,
Go.
sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that gets him to
The
close the
sheep needs to
door
be,
by like ramming the thing, right? He gets him to close the door on himself by
yeah.
ramming
Yeah.
the glass. And then,
And
oh man, it was just the whole thing was just, it was just so dumb. And
what is the
I've
eyeballs? Yeah.
what's that?
What is the eyeballs end game? What is the end game? I don't really understand.
Yeah,
Is it
I don't
trying to curry
understand it
favor
either.
with currying favor with insects? I don't get it. Like it distracted the thing on the ship so that you could get the bug specimens into the water. And today it locks Toodles into the cage with the metal eating insects because why? I mean,
It's
it's still
just
stuck
it's
in
just
a
a
sheet.
helpful community, Dan. It's just a helpful community. That's all they are, you know.
It
Here we
takes a
are
village.
imprisoning the helpful community of aliens. But
It
yeah,
does take a village. So
it's silly, man. It's silly. So
uh Thug Dog says Godsmack is greater than Smashing Pumpkins. That is true. That is
that
true. We
is
got
true.
onto
I
the
don't know.
new
I don't
nether.
know that I don't know that Keep Away is what is the song I would have gone with, but I, you know, with the way they're going, all right, it was a big step up from last week. There's no doubt about it. So
Yeah.
we are now
Yeah.
on track to have Pantera at some point, Dan. That's all that matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're running out of opportunities, but we are out of the alterna phase that we were going through. We're getting into heavier stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. I was
and
fully convinced we were going to have like Rocket Man or something, you know, ground control to Major Tom, something really really lame.
yeah,
But
and
I
on the
don't think we're gonna get
nose.
I don't think
Yeah.
we're gonna get that anymore. So yeah.
Hey, maybe we can load up on the spaceship and have an almost famous moment where everybody sings along to Tiny Dancer. What do you think? Oh, I am the night. Loved the episode. Of course, you did. So much setup for what is happening in the next two episodes and two deaths. Starting to feel like nobody is safe. Everybody is safe. I
Yeah.
mean, the
If you
brother
didn't
is
know
safe.
those two morons,
Wendy
if
is
you didn't
safe.
figure out those two morons were gonna die the moment you saw them this episode, you just weren't paying attention. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. R.I.P. to Toodles. Yep. And
yeah.
then
What once
are these
again,
bugs? Go ahead.
yeah, let's talk about these bugs that eat androids for some reason. I
Yeah,
think that you're right, Dan. The fact that that was kind of set up like right before this happened, it's just like, oh, you got to feed them rocks and stuff because they don't eat food. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They eat fake stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that was very very weird. Okay.
yeah,
Um, you know, and then it once again it looks very bad when it lands on his hand. Looks very, very bad. The
yeah.
fact that he didn't do anything to try to get away from it was kind of weird. Did you think that? I mean, he
Yeah, he
let the
just kind
thing
of
land
stood
on
there
him.
and stared. He
And
didn't like. Of course, that would have been
and I
harder, I
mean,
guess.
and he works in the lab, you know, like he knows
Yeah,
this thing can eat him because he's feeding it the stuff, you know.
that he's made of.
It's that he's made of. Yeah. And so he just let it land there and then it stings him and then he throws up the white stuff and I'm just it just didn't make any sense. So yeah, but it looked terrible. The
Uh,
little bugs looked terrible and Toodle's death was pretty bad. It was pretty predictable. Um all in all, yeah, that was just a big fail on the episode for me.
sure.
I kind of saw it coming, you know. The deaths that are going to be really really the most impactful are the ones that you don't see coming. Like, you know, in I know what you did last summer. Like everyone knows Ryan Phillippe's going to die, right? He's the douchey
Right.
jock. Everybody knows that Ryan Phillippe's going to die. But, you know, but when we get to the end and you honestly think that Freddie Prinze Jr. died, that's when that's when your heart sinks, right? But this is like everybody that we expect to die is dying. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and those bugs, right? They eat big chunks of ore from a plate
Mhm.
and other scraps of metal and all that stuff.
But not the
But
containment stuff. They can't eat through
yeah,
any of the
no,
containment
not a
stuff, can
bulkhead. Yeah, and not air grills, not
yeah.
the grill that goes over an air duct. They cannot eat through that. That's impenetrable. They can't get through that.
Not at
If you can
all.
get
Nope.
that up in front of you, you're safe.
Yeah. Yeah. If only he had had that air duct to shield him from the
Yeah.
bugs as he was delivering.
Yeah. So Bill with Travis is tuned in. Travis, so you're saying
Travis.
this show has some bugs that should have been worked out. This show
This
has
show
some
is a
bugs.
bug. Yeah. This show is a bug.
Oh, the bugs have very fine taste. Only certain metals. Yeah, they are connoisseurs. They are
That's right.
bug connoisseurs. They only have the finest of ore.
That's right.
They need multi-million-dollar prototype androids. They won't even eat through the aluminum grate to get to one of those androids. They'll be like, "Oh,
No,
he'll
no,
come out
no, no.
eventually."
They're like, oh, the filet mignon is in the fridge, but oh, it's all the way in the fridge. I don't want to open that door.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, the bug. This show is like so many things that like this was a fair to middling first draft, and they were like, "Okay, let's shoot it." You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it honestly feels to me like AI is the way they went with the majority of the writing here. I mean, it was the AI 1,000%. Like they just went right down the line and said, give us a plot, and they stuck to it. You know what I mean? They didn't veer from it at all. They thought that they had something, because I'm going to guarantee you that's how writers are doing things now. So anyway.
I feel like with just a little bit of editing of the scripts and stuff and a couple more passes, they could have honed this into something that didn't suck.
No, yeah,
But,
and it probably still wouldn't have been good, but it wouldn't have been like this. This is just atrocious.
Yeah. I knew the husband wife would split, and him getting face sucked was very predictable. Yeah, and she's a company woman. I mean, you could tell she was always trying to calm him down, and he's hippy dippy granola man. And I thought the creator of this was like, I don't know, he's the guy who does the Fargo TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got this sensibility that's of a previous generation that this hippy dippy savior dude is the good guy, because it's like a boomer sensibility. The hippy dippy guy is always the good guy that you're supposed to relate to, and it's like, you know what? Nobody relates to that guy anymore. Everybody is sick of that guy. I don't know if you've been on the internet lately, but your boomer mentality is not popular anymore.
Yeah.
People are sick of that, and he just fits this trope that everybody has seen a million times, and you've seen this dude get killed a million times, and like the first half a million times, the people in the audience liked that guy and they were blown away that he got killed. And then for a while, people weren't surprised anymore, and they still kind of liked him. And at this point, everybody can't wait for him to die because they're tired of hearing him whine.
It's like the MCU. The MCU did this thing where they have they had the well-known actor heel turn. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like 3/4 the way through the movie, it's the bad guy. It's like Jeff Bridges is the bad guy. Jude Law is the bad guy. It's just it got like an old trope at some point. When you get in this, you're right, Dan. At this point, this is that's all this is right now. It's like the hippy dippy guy that's not the company man, that fights the company and shows him what's what, is the guy. I mean, everyone knows what's going to happen to that guy now. It's not like it's a big secret. You're going to find a way to kill that guy.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's Ian Malcolm if he wasn't cool. Ian
Malcolm. It's Ian Malcolm if he died, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if Ian Malcolm died, then the story is really not very cool, And it's just like you need to. Anyway, but yeah, that's essentially all they've done. It's crazy.
Yeah. So if Kirsch, Timothy Oliphant, thank you for filling that in for me, because I just know him as Timothy Oliphant. If Justified can't make this anyway. So if Kirsch works for Prodigy, why does he just watch Toodles get killed? These character motivations are all over the place. I don't know what Kirsch's end game is. Like,
I don't know that we've been told that yet. Like, what's really weird though is that, like I said earlier, the exchange that he had with Morrow, you would think that he had an adversarial motivation to Morrow, but he doesn't, and I don't understand why. You know what I mean? You would think that that he wouldn't want anything to happen to that lab, that he would want to keep those specimens intact, and that, I don't know. There's a lot there that I'm just not understanding why they're doing it.
So Travis wants to know, since Disney owns Aliens now, does that make the Alien Queen a Disney princess? You know, that could be my new
It's a good
second
question.
favorite Disney princess, because we all know my favorite Disney princess is Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Well, he's the
Kylo Ren has,
whiniest. He's definitely the whiniest Disney princess. I don't know about my
yes,
favorite, but
yeah,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
good question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe that does make the Alien Queen a Disney princess. We need an appearance of a queen. Maybe that would get this. I don't know. Kirsch has he's got his own game that he's playing. He seems in some scenes to be genuinely concerned with the welfare of Wendy, at least. Uh, I thought maybe genuinely interested in the rest of the Lost Boys crew there, but I guess this week we really saw that that's not the case. Uh, we haven't even touched on how far are we in here? We're 56 minutes in, Tim, and we haven't touched on the major moral dilemma of the episode, which was the crazy girl and wiping her memory of the last few days. And that's
Oh, I
what
forgot
our
about
hippie
that.
dippy guy
Oh my
quit over.
goodness, that was a terrible, terrible thing. Yeah, it was just so dumb. It was like all of a sudden the big question is, well now she doesn't know that she said she was going to have a baby 3 days ago. Okay, and that's bad, you know.
Yeah.
You think that she should think that she's going to have a baby? It was
It's
just
like
a
it's like, oh,
weird
we must
weird
let her
thing.
maintain what's that?
Yeah, it was just a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah. We must let her maintain the memories of this horribly traumatizing event, because we all know the best thing in a child's mental development is PTSD. I mean, that's what you really need as like an 8-year-old thrust into a grown body. You need to layer that with some PTSD on top of it to really come out and be a good super being. That's how you get your most well adjusted, and just erasing those memories is beyond the pale. You have to quit your job over it and leave your wife and go get face hugged. It is exactly. And then Wendy has to lose her faith in the whole endeavor because she found out, because this is a yes place, Tim. I don't know if you knew, but she told them all that this was a yes place, and they didn't ask her if she wanted those memories erased, you know, because she was definitely of sound mind when
That's a
she
good
talked.
point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. She was definitely of sound mind and able to make those decisions, even though she is a minor and is crazy and thought her android body was pregnant, even though she grew up on a farm and very much knows what pregnant means. You know, she was of sound mind, and they shouldn't have done that to her. It's just, it's again, it's one of these underdeveloped things, like the conversation in the hall. All of the moral quandaries that they bring up are like half baked and
Well,
stupid.
and it's crazy because the dilemma isn't necessarily the morality of it, as crazy as that is. The
Yeah,
dilemma more has to do with, will this make it worse, right? That's
yeah.
really the big thing, is this could get worse. Nobody's really explained why, but this could potentially make it worse. And I think that's, so what are we going to get the next couple episodes because of this? That's going to be the big question. And
What
I don't know, man. I don't care at this point.
Well, and these people, again, it's the cascading incompetence. These people we're supposed to believe are not buffoons. We're supposed to be told that they're not drooling idiots, right? And yet their big plan to rectify this situation is we're gonna erase the last 4 or 5 days of her memories completely and then release her back into general population with our other prototype kids and not tell any of them not to talk to her about it, or we've had to remove some of her memories so she might not know what happened, or make up an excuse about how traumatized she is so she can't discuss it. They just throw her right back to talk to Wendy and any other kid as if they're not going to mention some stuff that is going to make it patently obvious that she's had days of her memory erased. Like she's referring to things that happened, like, 3 or 4 days ago, as if they just happened yesterday. And like they just throw her out as if that is not going to be a problem. This is just not going to be a problem. We're just going to erase her memories and then release her to specifically interact with the other children to let them know, hey, look, we erased her memories and we might be able to erase yours too. Isn't that exciting? I mean,
Yeah, I can't. The inconsistencies here and the things that they want us to believe, like you said, like the idea that Wendy goes in there and talks to her about it, like they didn't think that was a thing that would happen, or they didn't plan for it, or they don't know how to explain it, or these are the things that just don't make sense. The writing room in this show it's just been a joke. I don't know who the people are, but they are not good. And I feel like I'm with you, Dan. There were the bones of something here that could have been acceptable, but I'll never be able to piece it together with what they've given us here. You know what I mean? With what they've given us, there's just so much that doesn't line up, doesn't make sense. It just makes me not even care. And so, unfortunately, I tuned in. I tuned into this because I love the first two Alien movies, and I thought I was going to get a little bit of that. But ultimately, what I'm getting is just more of the classic modern sequel, corporate level stuff that I just don't think is ever going to, be near as entertaining as the straight up horror monster movie that we were given originally.
yeah, it's just so lazy. And like you said, it's so easily fixed. If your grand plan to solve the problem of her going crazy is to wipe a few days' memories, you have to at least compensate for the idea that, okay, we're going to keep her isolated from the others after we do that so that it doesn't become obvious. And then you could squeeze some drama out of that. They're asking where she is. She's asking why she's alone. They're making up excuses for it along the way so they don't appear to be complete buffoons. There were other things that could have been dramatic in this series, like Wendy and her brother. He didn't need to be immediately told that was his sister. He could have figured that out slowly over the time. That would have been a great, he could have been, instead of like a moron, like a freaking moron this whole season talking about, I want to take her back to that shared apartment. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to be family, you know? Instead of doing that, he could have spent the season unlocking the mystery and having small clues in conversation revealed to him slowly that, oh, this is my sister. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That,
Like like imagine imagine if you would in the first Star Wars movie. I refuse to call it A New Hope, just so everyone's aware. I don't call it A
yeah,
New Hope. I call it the first Star Wars movie because it was given that title for the re-release, and I'm not about that. So anyway, it's not A New Hope. It's the first Star Wars movie. But imagine the first time that Darth Vader sees Luke and he after he kills Obi-Wan, and he looks over and he says, "Hi, son." Just imagine, right? Like
yeah,
how terrible would that have been, right? And that's
yeah,
essentially what you have in this series. It's just like that's your sister. What? What do you mean that's my sister?
yeah. It's just, and what I was wanted to say earlier, wanted to get through the comments with these IPs. If you're not going to continue it or build on it with any sense of respect or revere for what the IP is, just please leave it alone. Just don't touch it. It is so obvious that that the people behind this show have no love for or respect for the Alien franchise at all. I mean, I feel like they maybe watched Alien once and kind of dug some the set design because it's the only thing they've been able to like recreate convincingly is the set design and some of the general feel when you're on the ship. You do get that. But maybe they and it, you know what, it has been done already, and so if you're not interested in doing something in that mode, in that vein, because you feel like it's already been done, then do something totally original. Don't take this IP that operates in that vein and try to push it over here. It doesn't go over here. It goes over here. It's in its vein. You've tapped it. If you don't feel like mining that vein anymore, then leave this alone and go invent your own stuff. This is not an alien show. It doesn't work within the confines of what Alien is supposed to be.
And this is the problem with acquiring properties. When you acquire properties, you have to utilize those properties within a certain time frame, or else you that that becomes fair game for somebody else to acquire. And so this is the reason that Sony kept putting out Spider-Man movies for a long time. It's the reason we got into the Spider-Verse and all this other stuff, right? And it's the reason that that Disney, once they acquire these properties, is using them. Because if they don't do a release for each one of these properties after so long, then they become properties that are fair game for somebody else to acquire. And so it really is one of those situations, I think, that they need to kind of reevaluate what their calendar is, because this is a project that didn't need to happen. We just had Romulus, right? And so you know that if that satisfied your 10-year obligation or whatever it is, good enough. Leave it alone. I'm with Dan. But the one thing you don't want
Yeah.
to do is release another crappy project, okay, that makes the lore worse and makes all of the fact checking have to be quadrupled down, and the homework that you got to do in order to watch the next project after this. It's going to be just awful. This is what Disney does with everything. And I wish that they would just kind of keep their hands to themselves, but unfortunately, when they acquire properties, they're going to use them. That's just how it is. They're going to use them because they don't want to lose the rights to them. But I don't know, man. I feel like this is one where I just want, just looking at it at face value, is there really a reason why Disney needs to keep the Alien franchise?
I don't know.
I
They
mean,
don't have any regard for it. They're
yeah,
not, you know, again, let somebody else who loves it take care of it, because they obviously don't. This is not, and
yeah.
I don't know. I wish we had Bone Bridger or Jason here to try to explain this to me, but we've got Morrow and just about everybody at Wayland Yutani, and at this point Kirsch, because he read the log of the ship. All of these characters, everybody that works at Wayland, uh, Morrow, Kirsch, they seem to know every last detail about the life cycle of a xenomorph. They know how the egg works. They know how long the face hugger gestates in the body. They know how long until you have a full grown xenomorph. They know what a xenomorph does and how to fight a xenomorph. Like, when did they become such experts? I mean, I watched Alien and Aliens. They all seemed real surprised by what xenomorphs were and what they did. Like, what? How did everybody forget that in the space of a couple years? I don't understand. It just
It and the second in command on the ship, she was the same way. I mean, she knew all about a xenomorph and all about what they did and all this stuff. And look, at the end of the day, man, the unknown is part of what makes a horror movie horrible, right? I mean, it's part of the thing that makes everything so awful when we're talking about, well, what, where's this monster going to show up? What's it capable of? How did it, how it doesn't just have a big mouth, it has a little mouth, and it can stab you with its tail, and it doesn't just have claws and all this stuff. And then we get to aliens and we find out that there's a queen and she's even bigger and even meaner and all this stuff. It's just, there needs to be something, right? There needs to be something that is different and terrifying and mysterious. And these people have none of that. These people have none of the none of the instant reverence and fear that we saw in the first Alien movie. They don't have any of that. You know what I mean? Because they know it. They've got the tool. Oh, I've got the little electric thing that makes the xenomorph so it can't move right here. It just, that's the kind of stuff that just, it makes this show kind of a Nerf version of Alien to me, because there's none of that real inherent fear for a xenomorph.
Yeah. They went to RKI. They went to outer space RKI and got their xenomorph spray before they went hiking. You know what I'm saying? They were like, oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I got bear spray, xenomorph spray.
It's the yeah. We just want to make sure,
spray.
We got our shark repellent bat spray. We got that.
Yeah,
that's what we got.
Yeah. Robin, bring me the.
It was great, man. You gotta love R.I.P. Adam West. We love you.
Yes, we do. So again, like, I don't know why they insist on, if you're going to continue to make material with these IPs, like, why in the whole wide world of creative people there's nobody who actually likes this stuff and has reverence for it and wants to do something with it that is in the vein of what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't find anybody that will make good Star Wars or good Alien.
I think that like, as it relates to Alien, like James Cameron is just knee deep in Avatar for some reason, so he's not going to touch it. And Ridley Scott's done; he's not going to do anything with it. And I just don't think there's anybody else that really had that amount of love for the IP. And that's unfortunate. You know what I mean? This is something that has been a cult movie for years. You know what I mean? It's been a cult movie for years. Everybody has loved Alien. And so to see that there's nobody that has that level, like the same level that we have in Star Wars, and the same people that we had, the same level that we have in Lord of the Rings with Peter Jackson and that kind of stuff. I mean, there are people who love those IPs dearly, and it's a shame there's not somebody out there in the filmmaking community that is young and talented and up and coming that everybody knows that could just take this and run with it and make it something. And I think that's also a dangerous territory, though, because when you start getting into, well, we just need to find the right young, well-known filmmaker, that's when we get into J.J. Abrams doing Star Wars, and that's when we get into, a lot of these other situations that just don't pan out, because all of a sudden their vision is really not the vision that I think a lot of other people would have gone with, and then they can only work with the script they're given anyway. So I don't know. It just kind of depends. I feel like there should be somebody in because the movie's been out for what? I mean, this is a 50-year-old IP, right? I mean,
yeah,
there should be somebody in the filmmaking community that isn't, an octogenarian that should be able to go out there and make us a decent Alien project. But I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Alien was 1979. It was just the same age as me.
So not quite 50. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah. It's 46. It's 46 years old. But you would think that there's somebody who grew up that's in the movie industry now, that was their favorite film. That's why they got into film.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it's not like the cast. It's not like the cast of the first two movies are not there. I mean, Paul Reiser's still around. Sigourney Weaver is still around. Is there anybody that could get together with these people and say, let's get together and band together and get kind of like an alien, like, board of directors and find somebody that we all agree we trust with the IP, kind of like what they did with Star Wars, but then we ended up with Kathleen Kennedy. So I don't know that that's a good idea. Never mind. Forget I said that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could do like what they had at Marvel before they threw a hissy fit and got rid of it, where they had the creative committee with actual comic book
Exactly.
writers,
Exactly.
trying to
No,
help
I
direct
mean,
it.
and you're right, because then they just passed all of those duties on to what was her name, Victoria Alonso, and then all of a sudden everything got all super political and all that kind of stuff. But when the comic book people were in charge, it actually was really good, and it's kind of the same way with Star Wars, right? When they decided to do the Mandalorian with Disney, they sat down and it was a very, very small committee of people. It was John Favreau, it was Dave Filoni, it was Bryce Dallas Howard, and it was a couple other people. And it was basically like, look, if you don't like Star Wars, this isn't the place for you. Get out, because
Yeah,
we're making a good Star Wars show. And the first two
yeah,
seasons of Mandalorian were fantastic. So,
yeah.
they got away from that, and that's how we end up with things like the Acolyte and all that
What
other stuff. But
the problem is, once you ruin something, which by the time the Mandalorian came out, Star Wars was already ruined. The Force Awakens and the Last Jedi
of
had already
course,
happened,
of course.
and uh, Disney is messing up because they keep trying to set projects. They're giving out with this new Starfighter movie. It's going to be set in that era. Nobody cares what happens in that era. That era is garbage and everybody hates it. It's why they had to shut down their $1 billion hotel that they opened, their Starliner hotel. It was set in an era that no Star Wars fan wants to spend a weekend. They don't want to battle the what's it, is the new order, the new what the hell is
It's
the
well,
dime
here's the
store?
thing. Yeah, you got to and when I went to Disney World in 2019, this is one of the first things I noticed is there is no mention of the Empire. They do not mention the Empire. Everything is New
Yeah,
Order. When you're talking about when you're in Galaxy's Edge and you're talking to them, you hear about the New Order. You hear about the
the
Resistance. You
resistance.
do not hear about the Rebel Alliance. You do not hear about the Empire. And it's because those were the Disney additions to the IP. And so they're the big things that Disney pumps up at Disney World. And it's kind of funny because they still have people from the Empire. Obviously, you still have Darth Vader, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? But
So
you don't call it the Empire. You call it the First Order, which I
so
thought
you
was pretty
so
silly.
you've ruined the whole post original trilogy era with your garbage sequels, right? And Mandalorian was able to capture a little bit and squeeze out a little bit of joy and goodness by setting itself immediately after the end of Return of Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only squeeze out so much goodness there
Mm-hmm.
before you start running into the new order timeline, before you get into sequel trilogy, because you're gonna have this Jedi Yoda baby Grogu, and oh, what are we gonna do with, and but by the time you get to the sequel trilogy, the Luke tried to restart the Jedi Order and that Kylo killed them all. So
Yeah.
now you've introduced everybody's favorite new character, and according to the canon of this new sequel, he's killed by Kylo and his Knights of Ren, which you never saw except for like 3 seconds in one scene in The Force Awakens. And are never explained who they are or what they are, except maybe I know somebody, like there's probably a novel or a comic book, but screw that. I had to sit through the garbage movies. Do you think I'm going to read the garbage novels or the garbage comic books about that garbage timeline? No, I'm not going to do it. So the Mandalorian can only be good until it starts having to integrate itself into this garbage timeline. And once like, it was great to see Luke Skywalker do Luke Skywalker things at the end of season 2. It felt like a reclamation of him after The Last Jedi. But After
Yeah.
that, if you're gonna hold on to the canon you've made, right? If you're gonna have any more Luke or any more Mandalorian, because you're gonna have to have Luke if you have more Mandalorian, you're gonna have to start transitioning that cool Luke Skywalker from the end of season 2 into the hermit jackass that you saw in The Last Jedi. You have to start working in that direction, and that's why you
Yeah,
can't have anything good.
that's the big problem with Disney. Once again, by overwhelming us with volume, there's only so many directions that this story can go. And sooner or later, if you introduce Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to introduce lame Luke Skywalker, and that's what you did. And
Yeah,
that's kind of the main issue with volume, and that's the main issue that I have right now with what they're doing with the Marvel franchise as well. Same thing, right? You're introducing me to characters that I am supposed to love, but because this is like the 12th movie for them, you're introducing different versions of them. I don't need Dad Bod Thor. I don't need all this weird stuff that you're giving me, but you feel like you have to, because if you don't give me something different, you think I'm going to get bored. And so I don't know. There's just a lot of this that's really weird, but we weren't really to that point with the Alien franchise yet. They
no,
didn't really have to go a drastically different direction. All they had to do was have 8 episodes where where xenomorphs chased people. That's really all, chased and ate people. That's all they had to do. It wasn't
yeah,
that hard. They made it
find like
hard.
just find some new. You've got a whole universe of spacefaring people. It's the future. Earth is a spacefaring planet, and I'm sure there are all kinds of different spacefaring jobs. Alien, what they're miners, right? In Alien, and Aliens, you got the Space Marines. Uh, just pick some other, vocation that people could be out in space doing. It doesn't really matter what it is. We've got these people out in space doing stuff, and oh, there's a xenomorph. That's all you needed to do. It's really that simple.
And
You know what?
and what the only thing that could make this entire series redeemable for me is this. Okay, I want a big dramatic and finale episode where it's Wendy and her brother, and they're the only ones, and everybody else gets killed by the xenomorph, and or the 2 xenomorphs or whoever it is. Everybody else gets killed, and they're running through the woods or the city or what have you, and everybody else is getting killed. It comes down to them and the xenomorph, and then they kill the xenomorph, and you think it's over, and then Predator shows up and kills them both. That would be the best ending. That would be
Yeah,
the best ending to this. Okay,
yeah.
is if they make it to the end, you think everything's hunky dory, and Predator shows up and kills both of them, and then you just go straight to black, and you have Pantera. Amazing! It would be the
As
best
long as
ending
it's
ever.
not, as long as it's not the new, improved, human-looking, sympathetic predator. Not that predator.
No, 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 no.
He can
We're
tail.
talking a real Predator. Okay.
Yeah, and then uh, here's what I'm pitching for Alien. It's just there's so many things out there. How about instead of an Alien prequel, a prequel to the Alien, an Aliens prequel, like because Aliens they're going to a
57
colony.
years.
Yeah,
57 years in between. I mean, there's plenty of time.
well, in Aliens, they're
You know?
going to a colony that has been overran by xenomorphs, right? And it doesn't have to be an actual Aliens prequel. It could be kind of a mystery. Is this an Aliens prequel? Is it not? The story of a colony of a human outer space colony that gets overran by xenomorphs. That would be frightening. That would be, you could make that thrilling. You could fill 8 episodes of an entire, I mean, a ship with a small crew is great for a movie. Alien's a great movie. It's like a crew of like not 8 or 9 people. You know what I'm saying? Like the xenomorphs go through that in about 2 hours. But if xenomorphs are going to overrun a whole colony, that's perfect for a television show. Like there you go.
Yeah.
I just gave you the vocation. You did miners, you did Marines. Let's see these colonists get overran by xenomorphs. None of this, and we don't have to have any of this Blade Runner consciousness, memory erasure. This is a yes place. Cultural relativism. Who are we to pass judgment of xenomorphs? Nonsense. And this is, I feel like I'm back doing Rings of Power, and we're arguing about orcs again. I just
E-
don't.
everything is kind of going that direction now. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what it's like for those blank. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, the predators or the xenomorphs or the orcs or any of the um any of the main antagonist monsters. We just don't know their real story, Dan. We just don't know the real story of the predator and the cultural expectations that take place in the tribe of a predator. Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
It's just a
Don't forget.
horror movie where he chases Arnold through the woods. It's not
Yeah.
that deep, guys. It's not that deep. It's
Don't
really
don't
not.
forget next fall the 8-part mini series following the trials and travails of Frederick Krueger, the misunderstood minor attracted person who only needed some counseling. If they would have only given him some understanding, the
Yeah.
minor attracted person that was Frederick Krueger could have been rehabilitated and registered in the database and been totally okay. And I definitely want to spend 8 hours feeling sorry for him. That's what I want to have. It's
Mhm.
just it's so ridiculous.
It is.
I mean, we're gonna
Like on its
have
surface, it's just so silly. It's so silly.
yeah, like are we gonna have like a thing where we learn that the blob was really,
Yeah.
or the thing or the fog, the fog. We're gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, the
No,
fog. Well, you don't understand the
it's
fog.
interesting you should bring up the thing. It's interesting you should bring up the thing because that is a
Yeah,
very, very, very similar story to Alien. Like very similar story to Alien. All right.
yeah,
Except that when it takes over somebody's body, it can talk and all that kind of stuff. That's the only difference, really. But
yeah,
like, the thing is a very, very similar story to Alien. And this is kind of what you've done. You've taken the thing and made it sympathetic, made it something that you want to train like a puppy all of a sudden. It doesn't make any sense, guys.
it was just misunderstood. It was just
It's not that
misunderstood.
deep. These stories don't need to be that deep, man. And I think that's the reason. Like a lot of people don't like the Rob Zombie Michael Myers for the same reason. And I disagree with that one. I love that story. Okay. I love that story. But I at least see the angle where people say, look, you don't need to be going into Michael's background and trying to say that he was abused and all that kind of stuff. And that's why he was the way that he was. We like the mystery and we like this. I just like the angle that Rob Zombie had on it. I think that he did a lot of great filmmaking stuff in that movie. So I love that movie. But a lot of people think that that kind of a thing is kind of the main problem, that we're always trying to explain the monster's motivations. That's how we ended up with Joker. That's how we ended up with
Yeah,
Joker. That's how we ended up with a lot of these other movies. And so sometimes monsters just don't have motivation. And that's the perfect thing that we heard from Michael Caine in The Dark Knight. Some men just want to watch the world burn. That's
yeah,
that's one of the things that there are some things that are just monsters. They're just bad. They're just evil, and
yeah,
you just fight them. And that was the only explanation we needed in that movie. We didn't need a
yeah,
big background on the Joker, And every time they gave
yeah.
us a background, it was different because he's got multiple personalities and all this. That's the way that it needs to be done if you want to do mystery, man. Like, and with these monster
At,
movies, just make them monsters. It's not that deep.
at this point, I feel like Disney is going to give us the next Star Wars project is going to be a prequel to the prequels, explaining how Chef Palpatine, really wasn't that bad. He was really just a misunderstood guy that
Mhm.
wanted the best for everybody, and the
Well,
Emperor.
and it's already bad enough that they did that for Darth Vader, because the one thing that we didn't need about the great thing about Darth Vader is when you get the baby face turn at the very end of the original trilogy, it's one of the greatest moments Yeah, it's one of the most redeeming moments in cinematic history. But then if you go back and you watch a movie where he's literally an 8-year-old kid, it's like
Yeah.
you you want that guy to be redeemable the whole time. And so it's a lot different. You really can't change what we already know about these evil things and expect us to just accept it. That's not how we grew up on these IPs. It's not how these stories work. It's taking the horror out of this story for me. I don't know about you, but in this particular case, it's taking the horror out of this story for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the xenomorph is already tame. So I mean, it who cares? And the other reason that there's no horror in this is because there's nobody that you're rooting for. So you're not afraid that bad things are going to happen. You want bad things to happen to all of these characters. You know, like you root for the xenomorph, except for it's a lame xenomorph that's been tamed by Wendy. So you're not rooting for it either. That's why the predator has to come at the end and kill the xenomorph. So that at least there's
For sure.
something there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be very upset.
yeah. So I mean, Disney should have just opened up the coffers and shelled out the money to acquire Blade Runner so they could have told their story that they really wanted to tell about artificial intelligence and consciousness being transferred into android bodies. And is that real? And does it? I mean, you know what? You know what handled this question a whole lot more entertainingly? A Amazon Prime show comedy called Upload was more deep about the issue of is uploading an uploaded consciousness actually you or not. It explored that question with a whole lot more nuance than this did in a comedy, and it was funny. you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Uh,
I mean, and this is something that's been done before, right? I mean,
yeah,
there are a lot. I think there's a couple episodes of Futurama that have to do with something like this, and there's a lot of comedy stuff like you brought up, Dan, and then there's just this isn't like an overwhelmingly new idea. The idea of having some kind of some kind of technology that can keep us younger by uploading our consciousness into some kind of android body. This isn't a new idea, so I'm kind of surprised this is the direction that they decided to go with their main corporate conflict. It really is kind of silly. And then they made these beings virtually indestructible. That's kind of another thing that just makes it kind of
like
weird. So I don't know.
Netflix had that show Altered Carbon, which was
Hmm.
all about your consciousness being
Yeah.
downloaded to new skins. Bodies were just called skins, and you could jump from one body to the other and be downloaded. And so these questions
Yeah,
that they're trying to,
Total Recall isn't completely different from that. I mean, there's all kinds of, and so yeah, there's all kinds of stuff where it's just, I don't really think that this is a very original idea. I think they thought this was a pretty original idea. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
you know what?
but there's elements of a lot of different sci-fi stuff here. You
I
know
think
what I mean?
multiplicity. I think multiplicity may have handled this
Multiplicity,
so much more
Multiplicity
better.
was great.
You know,
That
you
that
know.
was that was great. That was great. She
I got a
touched my
wallet.
peppy, Steve. She
Yeah,
she touched my
she
peppy, Steve.
takes my pen. Hey Tim, I like pizza.
I like.
I got, I got a wallet.
Hey man, Michael
I'm gonna
Keaton's
drive a
best
car.
work. I don't care what anybody says. That is Michael Keaton's best work by a country mile.
It's so fun. I don't know why it wasn't a bigger hit, but go back and watch
I
it.
don't either, man. Great
Yeah,
movie. Great movie.
yeah,
We should do a slab review on Multiplicity for sure. Like
yes,
for sure.
yes.
Okay.
That's got to be in there. We're doing multiplicity. She takes my Pepe Steve. But again, it ponders like if you get a clone of you, is that you? It has your memories. Is it a separate entity? these are questions that like sci-fi has explored. I don't know why they thought this was a whole new thing to do within the confines of the alien universe. Uh, they're not giving that the kind of thought that makes it interesting, and they're not giving you enough alien horror stuff to make that interesting either. They're jumping back and forth, and it's just I don't know. And man, I didn't know that Peter Pan was that creepy. I don't actually. I'll confession, I've never read Peter Pan, but I don't know. The context might be doing
Yeah,
it.
was it Boy that told us all
Boy
the
Cavalier.
real internal thing about Peter Pan and all? Yeah, I'm really over all of that, to be completely like this whole thing really should have been about 90% action and suspense and about 10% of this story, like background story and all that kind of stuff. And they've kind of reversed it. It's kind of been like 10% of the action and suspense, and about 90% of just the story and the build up and the setup and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just not I'm not entertained. I'm not entertained by something that should be aliens eating people.
Yeah, you need more screen time for Kid Cavalier's bare feet, Tim. That's just what you really need. And I just sent you that review of Eric Kane had of the last episode, and it's like he did like Kid Cavalier is Peter Pan. He is Peter Pan, and it's like they're just hitting you over the head with it so much. Morrow's Captain Hook, and the Lost Boys are, of course, the Lost Boys. In case you missed it, I mean, it's all just
Yep.
so terrible. Anyway, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna finish it. Is next week the last week, Tim?
I
Is it?
believe we've got two more. I think we've got
Oh,
two
for
more.
God's sake!
I hope it's next week, but I think we've got two more because I think it said the 20. Yeah, it would have been the 20 somethingth was the last episode. So yeah, we got two more.
What
Unfortunately,
what, what are we gonna do for 2 hours, Tim? I don't. The
I don't know, man. I'm
granola
I
man is already in the air duct with the face hugger on. I
Here's the
mean,
thing, Dan. Here's the thing. Because this has a strong female lead that we know is going to make it to the end, I think that maybe they're banking on this being so popular that it was going to get a season 2. And I think that next episode is going to be like the second to last episode of Game of Thrones, where they give us the big actual finale, and then episode 8 is going to be more of the wrap up. So that's my prediction. We'll see what happens.
I xenomorph fight. Xenomorph fight. The face hugger that granola man has got. It's gonna bust out. It's gonna eat some stuff. It's gonna get big real fast, and it's gonna fight Wendy's pet xenomorph. So maybe that we'll have to pick a xenomorph and root for it, because of course that's what we always wanted, is to see that. So anyway, that's what we did this week. We watched that for you folks so that you don't have to. And until next week, Tim. OH.
IO.